welcome to this panel about UA in 2024. But if it's too few months, we can do a bit further back as well if you want to share your insights. My name is Yoann. I'll be moderating the next 40 minutes of this panel. And as I guess to start, I'll let each of you introduce yourself and where you work, what you do, and then we'll go from there. Do you want to start?
Cool. Yeah, so I'm Emma. I'm a growth lead at What 3 Words. So before I go into what I do at What 3 Words, I thought I'd just briefly explain what 3 Words is for anyone who hasn't heard of us. So we are trying to solve the problem of poor addressing. And so what that really means is we have mapped the whole world into 3-meter squares, and each 3-meter square has been given a 3-word address. So that means if you're trying to meet someone at a festival, in the middle of a field, you're trying to talk to the emergency services, you have a poor home address and you're trying to get a delivery, we're trying to solve all of those issues and make it easier and quicker for you to talk about location wherever you might be. And as I said, we're a global app, we're over 60 languages, so it keeps us very, very busy. And what I do there, so I work in the growth team, really trying to get any form of consumer growth, but in particular focusing on paid media and app CRM.
Thank you.
I'm Daniel. I'm part of the marketing team at Skyscanner, where I look after all the paid UA things in the app space. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
And I'm Yagiz. I'm from Product Madness. Product Madness is a social casino company. And I'm one of the UA team leads.
And hi everyone, I'm Jessica. I'm the head of performance marketing at Paired. Paired is a relationship care app whose main goal is to support couple in their day-to-day struggle, help them communicate better, but it can be used also to have fun, to spice up your daily routine with your partner.
Nice. Great panel. I didn't even say what I was doing. So I'm head of growth at AIApply. If you saw me last year, I had another job. If you saw me 2 years ago, I probably had another job. So I keep changing. But yeah, it's AI tools for job seekers. So check it out if you're in that situation soon, or if you're looking for another job. I also run a podcast every week called In Growth We Trust. Got the hat. So as an icebreaker, I'm going to give away one of the hats to the person with the highest daily screen time. Check your phone right now. And I want everyone in the room, everyone check their screen time, and I want to do like a little hands up on who's got the biggest. Average weekly, I think the iPhone says like average for the week, like the daily average for the last few weeks or something, or the last week. Do you have it?
I have it turned off.
Okay.
and I know why, because I don't want to know. I'm on it all the time.
Okay, so we won't know. What about you? What about you, Dan?
I've got 3 hours and 42 minutes, but that's down 36% week on week. So
okay, doing better.
I think I've been busy this week. So,
And being a growth expert.
What about you?
Mine is 2.5 hours.
2.5, okay, so it's little.
4 hours and a half.
You win. All right, so at the end of the session, I will give you a hat that you can proudly wear every day when you go to work. My one is a 3.5. Who's got more than 4 in a room?
Oh, thank you.
That's good. So I think in what we do, I think you should have an high screen time. Like that shows that you're doing a good job in your UA, daily routine. What about more than 5?
More than 6.
6, 7,
Oh, wait.
8. Okay, we got 7. Okay, well done to you. Like you were obviously working really hard. Cool. I'd like to start by asking you guys, and like I don't want to go in turn, so hopefully you guys can just jump on each other's answers. Like a kind of generic question, but so far, what has been your your biggest success or focus in UA in 2024, or like in the last 6 to 12 months?
I'll start.
Go.
You don't have to.
Yeah, so I think for us at What 3 Words, something that we've really focused on and been really proud of actually is our ability to adapt and diversify. I think it's been really easy for us in the past, and I'm sure lots of other people are the same, really focusing on paid media is kind of fix it, acquire new users, retain new users, but actually looking at the whole user journey and all the different ways that we can acquire new users. So really maximizing our web to app journey. We use branch journeys for that, updating QR codes, testing the way that we have share links. So actually really pulling on the organic growth we can get from our users. Because when people share a location or they want to share the app, like we know that happens, but how can we make that happen better, increase it? So we've been really trying to pull on everything that we have, not just our paid media. And I think that's been a real success for us this year so far.
Nice.
I think for us, just because for a bit of context, Skyscanner is a low margin business. The revenue we make in the short term is very small and doesn't cover the acquisition costs. And we started playing with different LTV models, LTV windows, I'd say. So initially we started with 90 days, then we did 6 months, and now we are at 12 months. And that enabled us to scale massively compared to the initial strategy we had.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say that being one of the most ROAS-driven company in our vertical and keeping the same thing even though Apple is making everything worse. If there is anyone from Apple, sorry about it. But it's true. So the thing is that we're trying our best to keep the KPIs and hit the KPIs in every quarter, on every month, and annually. So I would say that when we check the last 12 months, we are doing good. That's what I could say.
Nice.
And for paid, in terms of user acquisition, I would say in the past 6-8 months, the most successful thing was the implementation of our new creative production and exploration process. It's paired is really focused or is relying a lot on paid social, so Meta, TikTok, and them, they require so much investment in terms of creatives. And before we were relying a lot on external agency, we weren't really able to scale as much as we wanted. And when we internalized the process, when we implemented this new framework, it did really change our game in terms of success rate on creatives, but also in terms of growth, profitable growth on this channel. So
I want to dive into that. Thank you. That's a good one. But can you talk a bit more specifically? If we talk about creatives and like what I think is one of the maybe only way to kind of differentiate yourself right now, and like maybe tackle some of the tracking challenges and stuff, like focusing more on like the creative side of things. Like, can you share a bit more? Like, what does that mean for you guys?
So it's common knowledge now that creatives are the most powerful weapon we have right now in order to target our user. It's the best way because we don't have any more manual target. We don't have any more the possibility to go after the user we want. So and also, considering the increasing competition, it's the best way to stand out there. So what we did at Paired, we came up with, after internalizing the whole process, building a team with a creative designer, with a creative marketing manager who handled everything from the brainstorming up to the testing phase. We came up with this 7-step framework that help us to really come up with great idea and improving, iterating on those ideas in order to success on this channel. And this framework, we run it on a weekly basis. We start with creative brainstorming, trying to get ideas from competitors, but in general, like, this is why my screen time is so high, because I spend my time on TikTok and Instagram only for work. We take idea from there, we share, we discuss, and then we prioritize the idea. We say, okay, what could work the best for our audience? And we try to think about what our audience wants. So it's important. It's not about the type of creative, but the user, the user you want to go after. So, for example, relationship. I mean, everyone, hopefully, has been in a relationship, or maybe. Don't judge. But yeah, most of the people out there. And the idea is that you need to think why these people should use Paired. What are their needs based on their gender, their age. So for us, it was game changing, focusing on the needs, trying to push the right button through the creative. And we are investing a lot on copy, on when it comes to creatives, on the message we send out there. So we start from there. We prioritize this idea and we move them to production. And it's super important for the UA manager to stay in touch, or to collaborate a lot with the designer, to give feedback and support them. And then it comes to the testing, and then we analyze the results and we iterate. And then the whole process starts again the week after. Based on the learning we collect from the testing, we iterate and we start again with the process and go on.
How many creative do you launch every week or every month?
Roughly, I would say it's around 25 concepts per week, meaning that it's more than 150, 170 creatives.
And they're all in-house, or you
all in-house.
Creators or influencers, all in-house?
All in-house,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, we leverage creator.
Okay.
So we do have, we collaborate with external platform and service. Like, for example, Billo, it's one of the platforms we leverage for UGC, but it's everything handled internally.
Is there any difference between what she just shared and what you
Pretty much. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same for social casino too. It's just we're trying, audience is not a one piece, right? It's just there are lots of pieces. So we're trying to identify who wants what and how we can attract them to return back the game or acquire the new users. So creatives, messages, and those CTAs are very important. They might look like a very kind of small thing to change, but every variation comes up with different kind of insights. So the more you try, the more you understand. The more you try, the more complex it's going to be, but you need to come up with a structure. So I totally understand trying different concepts rather than iterations. We also do the same thing. But we also segment things, like we tried the TikTok creatives, for example, on YouTube. They don't work. So we are trying the best alternatives for YouTube, because the content consumption for every ad network is kind of different thing. So you need to analyze, okay, 25 to 34 years old women, what they are really consuming from our end. But coming from which platform? That's actually kind of a very vital part to work on it. So we are trying to understand the data and going to the deeper roots to understand how we can actually customize it to make it more attractive.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to add anything from you guys?
I think we have like a pretty similar process.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I have to admit, I think we're a bit behind. We don't test as many creatives, and
Volume,
I think the problem we have is that we have so many campaigns for individual markets, and it's quite difficult to test at scale. And we tend to focus on the biggest markets we have, and we use different concepts. So, for example, we have an ad group that looks at product features. So we highlight all the product features that we have. And then we have multiple ad groups for, let's say, specific destinations or specific holiday types. So you can have skiing holidays, city breaks, nature holidays, and so on. So we see what's working, and then we try to apply the same learnings to a different market. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's an always-on process.
And I'm assuming it's a central team for all the markets, or you split depending on the languages and countries?
So it's the same team managing all the markets.
Nice. Do you want to add anything to that?
Very similar.
Very similar.
For us,
Fine,
to
fine.
be honest.
I want to move on to maybe more like KPIs and metrics. Going back to like tracking and like the challenges in like app marketing to do our job, becoming more and more difficult. Like, is that affecting the way you measure effectiveness on a weekly basis? Like, can you share a bit about that? I think Yagiz, you had like some insights.
KPI and metrics. So social casino is a kind of money in, money out vertical if we look at from a very broad point of view. Yeah, it's about growth. So revenue-based metrics are very important for us. Not only talking about ROAS, ROI, ARPU, but the way that goes to the ROI metrics, revenue metrics are also very important. So the cohorted metrics, what I'm trying to say is very important. So data science and edtech are very important on our end. We are using also another data science PR person here and a edtech person here from our team. It's just we're trying very hard with them to understand the data much better on our end. But if we go a little bit deeper, measuring the performance from Android side and iOS side are two different things because, as I said in the iOS is not really making everything better. So we are trying our best how we can, analyze the data. And before we take actions, we are trying to understand how we can put all those data into strategies because as one of the highest unit costs vertical, social casino is a little bit dangerous if you don't know what you're doing about the campaigns. We cannot really say that, okay, let's open the campaign, let's see what's going to happen. So that's not really happening for us. So we just need to know, and everybody needs to know, okay, these are the possible outcomes. This is the argument timeline, this is the optimization. And this is the success criteria, this is the failure criteria. So if you can know it, insight is going to help you if you hit the failure. So it doesn't matter. So we need insights, better insights over there. So what I can say that all those revenue metrics and retention metrics and their cohorted versions and predicted versions are very important for us, but they're only outcomes that we're talking about. So we just need to analyze how we are going there because they're basically one absolute amount divided by another absolute amount or something like that, or percentages. So we just need to understand how we can push those while we can optimize the campaigns around them.
Okay, I see. And I think, Emma, you mentioned web to app as well. Is that... can you walk us through like how does it work from a KPI point of view, like measurement from web, app, and then revenue and
so we've really been focusing on our web to app because we do get a lot of users coming to the website that don't necessarily convert to app. But as a location company, we really want people to have the app because it means it's so easy to talk about wherever they go. Yes, the website's great, but like the app is right there. You open it up, it's just going to show you where you are. And for us, what we've really been leveraging recently, so we work with Branch for their linking, and we use Branch journeys. So we're having banners on the website, and depending on whether you're a new user, returning user, where should we push you? And from that, like, what content do you need to then be seeing within the app? So, for that example there, we very much use Branch and the kind of metrics that we have available there. But I think within What Three Words itself, we kind of have quite an interesting challenge in terms of we don't have a particular end goal. We are not a subscription. We are not a purchase. So we are really trying to build usage, but different use cases and different users can have very different usage within our app. And so we're trying to look at everything and understand our users, and what good usage looks like for an individual can be very different if you're using us for deliveries all the time because your house is a poor address, versus using us for when you're meeting, you're off-road motorbiking at the weekend and you're using that all the time. It's an interesting challenge for us to track so much and try and understand that and continue to kind of make those right decisions.
Is your monetization B2B, basically?
Yeah.
And then, okay.
So either it's a web product or app product. It doesn't mean that we measure everything, but coming up with an insight. Okay. Should I remove it? Okay, sorry. Coming up with an insight needs to require us to do more tests with different events sometimes more red networks, sometimes less campaigns. So structure and argument is actually everything that we can drive over there. So we need to come up with a strategy, and then it's going to make more, because we can track everything here. The Adjust and AppsFlyer, Adjustable, and there's telling everything else, and they're really doing a great job, both of them. But how you use the data, it's up to you. That's still up to us, not AI.
Yes, I guess one of the question that maybe some apps are wondering is, should I develop a web strategy because maybe the traffic is cheaper and it still converts people into the app? But have you seen that? Did you compare like doing app campaign versus web campaign, and it works out the same or just cheaper?
I would say we haven't explored web acquisition as much as we have done our app acquisition.
Okay.
And what we have done instead is really focused on trying to get people from web to app.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that we've spoken about and we talk about, but we know that once we have users in the app, and we're actually really good at acquiring new users, particularly in the UK where so many people knew us for emergency services. So as soon as a PR story comes out, as soon as we put something out like that, we're talking about CVIs that I just can't believe. So
I've seen a few.
But so we definitely haven't done probably as much testing in the web acquisition as we would like. But at the same time, we know the app is such a priority for us. It's kind of where we keep focusing on acquiring and pushing people from web to app through strategies there.
All right. Thank you.
I do agree, though. It's indeed a smart move to try to explore web as well. So, for example, we do focus a lot on app acquisition, while we would love to explore and enter the web acquisition as well. So we are trying to invest more in web to app, web onboarding, because it does give you the opportunity to, at least for now, you never know in the coming years what's going to happen, but so far you can track everything on web, well, most of the thing at least, with all the limitation, but still better than iOS. And it does give you the opportunity to reach a different type of audience, because with app campaign, you reach a specific user. With web, you can reach something else. It does have an incremental impact on our
sure, and it's different
UA
tactic, different type of campaigns as well. You can get cheaper traffic.
Exactly.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the cheaper traffic, to be honest. We noticed that it's a bit more expensive, but we can optimize better on web, since we are able to feed the algorithm with more information compared to what you can do with the limitation with scan, framework, and so on. You are able to reach more quality user compared to app.
Okay.
But indeed, a bit more expensive.
That makes sense. By show of hands, is there anyone in the room leveraging web to app and web tactics? 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, just a few. Just curious. I want to talk about acquisition versus re-engagement and kind of like reactivation, and how do you manage that within your each of your companies? If it's like you, maybe a different team, and like how do you balance both? This in 2024.
Yeah. So I think we always talk about them in silo. At What 3 Words, we're all in the same team. We talk about it in silo, but I really think we need to think about it all together, because once you understand why and where you acquired your user, re-engaging and engaging that user can look very, very different. We focus on both, we have put a lot of work into engaging new users and re-engaging our existing users recently, probably in the past year, 2 years. We use Airship for kind of our app CRM side of things, so push notifications, in-app messaging, and really trying to trigger those based off what people have or have not done. And yeah, as soon as we can engage that user really well in their first week, if their understanding of the app is up, we know their future engagement and their retention is so much stronger. And so really trying to work on those automated journeys in particular for us. I mean, once they're going, continue to test and test and test, but it's also something that, you know, it's always going on, it's automated, it makes our life a lot easier. But that's something that we've been really focusing on, is making sure that we're acquiring quality users, but we're engaging them as soon as possible and doing that based off what they have or haven't done and what we understand about them.
I think one thing to underline over here, if it's a web product, it's much more easier to do the retargeting because everything is on cookie-based. But if it's an app product, you need to deal with the device IDs. And on the website, there is a very big, massive analytics tool, Google Analytics, that we're talking about. So you can see everything over here. And since cookies are already hashed, you don't need to work on other kind of privacy stuff. But on the app side, things are a little bit more complex and getting more complicated every day, because on the Android side, for example, okay, you know your audience much more better, but there are some kind of things that you need to adopt with the campaign process, and you need to analyze it further and further and further every time. It's not like I created this audience and I use it in the campaign, and some ad networks do not really provide that according to your, regardless of your ad network that you are using. For iOS, again, things are not really yet. I think I have a very big problem with iOS. So
we all do.
Yeah. So iOS is a different kind of story. I mean, every year they come up with two, 3 different manifestos, and we are trying to adapt to them. Not we are trying to adapt to them, but also MMPs are trying to adapt to them. So it also takes time. So one thing changes, lots of things changes. And the strategy and the thinking pattern should be changed. So for retargeting, iOS is a little bit more problematic than ever.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. Also because we are super focused on iOS, so I do feel the pain. And yeah.
Are you part of the same? Talking about teams like re-engagement, like CRM, push notification, emails, all of that. Is it part of the same team for you, or is it completely separate?
No, so for us is separate at the moment. We don't do any re-engagement on the paid front. We have the lifecycle team dealing with push and emails. We have re-engagement campaigns on the roadmap for this year, but I think, like on the paid side, but I think the biggest challenge would be measurement. So for example, we know that we've already paid to acquire some users, and then maybe 6 months further down the line, we pay again to re-engage that user. So how do we calculate the total cost we paid, and how do we calculate the revenue? Especially like in the flight sector, you don't book holidays every week. Well, if you do, great. But generally, people don't do that. So the conversion windows are like really long. So you book 1, 2, 3 flights, and then it's quite difficult to measure. But yeah, hopefully we'll crack that. Okay.
No, thank you for that. I want to move on to kind of beyond mobile, to know if any of you are exploring out of home, CTV, I don't know, retail, things like that. Anything you want to share?
Yeah.
And how do you track that as well? Notion of...
the fun question. So indeed, just a bit of context, paired is within a new type of archetype. So it's about relationship care. It's really new. So when it comes to marketing, we are facing an extra challenge. It's not only about selling our product, but it's also about creating the need in our audience. Just few people know that there are products out there that can support your relationship, that can help you nourish your relationship. So because of that, when it comes to paired and marketing, we do have this. We do need to either build our category, so grow our category and build brand awareness, and also acquiring new user. And for that reason, we are super investing on paid social, because anything that is promoted through video, through UGC, creator, it helps us to explain user what we are, what Paired is, and what we are selling. But when it comes to category growth, it's a bit more complex. And in order to do this, we started to invest in influencer, in podcast, in YouTube influencer, TikTok and Instagram influencer, because they do have a stronger relationship with their audience. They can take the time to really explain people the importance of investing in your relationship, make the effort, why you need to do so, and also the benefit that you can get out of it. And then promote Paired as one of the products to use in order to do so. And indeed, we have started a few months ago to invest in more on influencer, and we haven't yet come to a conclusion on if it's worth it or not. It's challenging to track traffic coming from this channel. I mean, when it comes to them, there is no CTA button where you can just click on it and then they download the app. So what we are using is we are creating dedicated landing page for each single influencer. So people, they have a special discount, a special offer related to each of them. And but yeah, most of the people don't really go through the landing page, through this dedicated landing page. They don't click on the link. They just listen. For example, if it's a podcast, most of the people, they listen to the podcast while they are on the metro, on the tube, or whatever. So they don't really have their phone on their hand. And how we are able to track them, or at least how we are modeling this traffic, is through how did you hear about us survey. For example, when they onboard the app, they have this how did you hear about us survey, asking them where they're coming from. Or we are trying to track brand keyword. When this influencer goes live, we check if there is an increase in brand keyword searches, either on the App Store, on the Play Store, on Google. And then we are also leveraging service, like for example, for podcasts, we have an agency that helps us to track this traffic through IP address, matching of IP address, in order to do so. And based on that, we are applying multiplier. So, for example, we have a multiplier for podcast that help us to say, okay, it's true that we are tracking X number of users, but then there is an extra multiplier of people that are coming through organic sources thanks to that. So, and we are just attributing.
Thank you for that. What about you guys?
Yeah, I guess on the What Three Words side, we've always been quite tactical with anything else that we do. So paid media has kind of been an always-on strategy. But things like, so we have a media equity deal for Channel 4. So we don't run TV ads on Channel 4 all the time, but we have tactical times, whether it's partner announcements, as well as times of year. So, we know we're really popular in the festival season. We know for deliveries, that's a really big use case for us. Christmas is an expensive time to advertise, but it's also when a lot of people are getting deliveries. And it's things like that, are out of home. It's not an always-on strategy, but it's a strategy that we're really trying to have that timing. And because it's not always on, we can kind of plan that so that our internal data team can look for those uplifts and understand the timing exactly of when those things are happening. And you can hope and assume those uplifts are attributed back to those things. Yeah, that's kind of what
And
we're
then-
doing.
I
Obviously.
think we need to draw a line between brand marketing and performance marketing over there to understand the difference between, because I'm not going to draw a line and separate from each other. Generally, it's a kind of very big circle for us, and which is brand marketing has much better reach than performance marketing campaigns. But brand market itself, there's a theory, the brand also market itself. So whenever you do performance marketing campaign, you also do the branding too. So if your structure is actually good, it's actually you're doing the brand marketing too. So when you plan something at wider range and go for brand marketing thing, you just need to center or at least consider performance marketing inside the brand marketing structure. So, okay, measurement is a kind of pain in the neck for brand. Oh yeah, brand marketing, and so what we are using is now from less trustworthy outcome to most trustworthy outcome from brand performance side, TV, CTV, and YouTube, Amazon Meta campaigns. So TV, massive reach. None of the other ad networks or anything can reach its impression levels. But is it redeployable? Is it possible to reach the campaigns at somehow? No, the technology is not there. So it's a one-shot thing. So you need to be very careful with the budget and everything, especially if you are doing it in the US. And the second thing is CTV. It has recently become a kind of always-on for almost all the brands, regardless of the verticals. But when you compare the data that flows to CTV and data that flows to mobile, your decision-making process could kind of affected by that. And you would say that, okay, I could spend this money on mobile too, but I don't really want to leave CTV because there's a good potential over there, but you just need to do the calculation over there very good. And the last thing, which is my favorite, YouTube, Meta, and Amazon campaigns. So for these, either you are doing app campaign or a web campaign, there are lots of other tools and features that they are offering to you. You can use lots of different features to, lots of different studies to, measure the performance, like brand lift studies, search lift studies, or for Google, for example, there are some kind of certain projects that you can use, especially for the app marketing, Project Ally, Project Titan, that really reveals the people who are acquired by that campaign. You can see the whole journey. And for Amazon, that is on the other hand, is also another giant. And one thing to underline over here, again, to Google and Meta, they make their money out of ads. But Amazon is an e-commerce platform, which brings us to a point that they have more segmentation in their platform. So if they are able to offer it, so it might create a difference over there. So the main con here is that, especially for the app campaigns, most of the brand campaigns are not really compatible with MMPs. So you cannot really fully credibly measure their performance. So we should be considering this. When I say considering this, it's like consider performance marketing too when you are doing brand marketing. So the first I said that, okay, let's try this and let's see what's going to happen. It shouldn't be a case for any of the brands, any of the product, and any of the things. So because we're already in 2024, not in 2000. So rather than putting all the money in the same basket, we can do it better and share it amongst the networks.
How about you, Daniel?
We don't do a lot of those activities at the moment. We've recently had some brand campaigns in Canada. Had some brand campaigns in Canada and Australia. We run them in partnership with a local agency. And looking at the lift studies they did, we've seen an increase in brand awareness. But if you ask me personally, I think that's a bit questionable. So yeah, looking forward to see what we'll do again until the end of the year.
I think we came up with the time. I'd like to thank you for your answers, for your
It's
time.
you, bye.
And thank you for joining us.